Welcome. It's Jamie at the Outdoor Learning Center. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome to our first live. To start the day, I want to say happy birthday to Jane Goodall. She's 86 and been on our planet this entire year, inspiring all of us to do a better job taking care of our planet. I have a friend here today, Carmen. She's one of our awesome volunteers. And we also have two of our amazing bird raptors. We're going to be talking more about them. But for today's live, we want to interact with you guys because we miss you so much. Please, we have a survey. We're curious, do you like owls more or do you like hawks more? So you can choose to do an emoji in the comment section. Either do an emoji owl or emoji hawk, or you can just write, I love owls more than hawks. That works too. We also want you to follow us on our YouTube channel so you can show us the friend later. You can find that at Outdoor Learning Center on YouTube. Sorry about that. And then we're going to be doing this every Friday. So please make sure you join us again next Friday. We're going to be talking about raptors. And then at the end of this video, we're going to be posting a craft that you can do that is an owl puppet. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Carmen, one of our amazing raptor docents, and she's going to tell you all about our birds of prey that are here. Remember, ask us questions, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Carmen, and today we have two of our raptors. On my arm right now is Orville. Orville is about 8 years old. He looks like a barred owl, but we'll talk a little bit more about him in a second. And in addition to Orville, we have Stan, our hawk. He's perched on the floor. Stan's kind of a fidgeter. He likes to move around a lot, so we've set him up with two different perches so he can do what he wants to do. So both of these birds are permanently injured. That means that they can't survive on their own in the wild, and we have special permits that allow us to keep them and take care of them, and also allow us to use them as animal ambassadors. So let's start with Orville, our barred owl. As you can see, Orville's kind of a biter, but I'm wearing a glove, so he's not going to hurt me. Orville, when he was fledging, when he was leaving the nest, getting ready to leave his parents, got caught up in barbed wire and injured one of his wings. So one of his wings he can't fully extend, and that means he can't fly. If you can't fly and you're a bird of prey, you can't survive in the wild. So that's why he's here, and he's kind of been with us since he was a baby. He prefers mice. That's his favorite food, and he gets fed every day by volunteers who are here making sure that all the animals are taken care of. As you can see, he's panting a little bit. He's probably a little bit overheated. This time of year, he strongly prefers to be outside because he likes cooler weather. So, and in the summer, because he doesn't like hot weather, he sits under a fan all summer long. So that's Orville. Another interesting thing about Orville is that he might be what we call a sparred owl, a cross between a spotted owl and a barred owl. And we kind of think that because he's heat intolerant. He really does not do well in warm spaces, and that's a characteristic of spotted owls. He's also kind of small, on the small end for a barred owl. And so we think he might be this sparred owl. He's had some blood work done, and that's come back inconclusive. So that means we don't really know, but it seems like that might be evidence for hybridization, so a crossing of species. Stan is a Harris's hawk. Harris's hawks are not native to this part of the world, okay? And the reason that we have Stan is because Stan grew up with a falconer. So Stan has been around people his whole life, and is one of our more gregarious birds. That means he's more social than our other birds. But in addition to being a falconry bird, he suffered an injury of his right wing, I believe it's his right wing. And he's actually missing the bone that's farthest away from his body. So he's missing some flight feathers. Now he can still fly, but he doesn't fly with as much precision or as much power as he needs to to be in the wild. So in addition to being born into captivity, that's never a good thing to release an animal that's been born into captivity into the wild. He has a wing injury, a slight wing injury. So and Stan has a strong preference for quail. That's his favorite food, and he's a very messy eater. So those of us who clean his mew scrub lots of walls and lots of perches. So those are our two birds of prey. I'm going to turn it back over to Jamie.
Hello, I'm back. So I was going to ask Carmen what her volunteer job looks like being a docent here. So what she does, she's here twice a week at least, if not more. So let's turn it over back to Carmen. Carmen, can you tell us what your day is like when you come help?
Oh, yes. So I'm a raptor docent, and that's a fancy way of saying that I scrub a lot of walls and scoop a lot of poop. And my day, first thing is I check on all of the birds to make sure that they're okay. And I pick up leftover food and weigh it and make a record of how much food the birds left. And then I go scoop poop out of the mews and scrub walls and ramps and stumps. And occasionally we do, well, not occasionally, once a week we do a health check on all of the birds. So we check their wings and their feet and their weight and their eyes. So that's a big part of it. And then we prep food and distribute it. So that happens every day. So even though there's no school happening right now, there's someone here every day of the week to take care of the animals. We take that very, very seriously. So rest assured, all of the animals at the Outdoor Learning Center are being cared for.
Can you tell us how much food each bird eats?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We go through a lot of mice and rats and quail. And so, like Stan will eat about 2/3 of a quail every day. Orville will eat about 90 grams of mouse every day. And so that's a couple of big mice. We have a great horned owl who eats pieces of rat. And so that's, it's a lot of food. And if you had told me, what was that? If you had told me 5 years ago that I would be butchering small animals for other animals to eat, I would have laughed at you. But that's what we do. These birds are obligate carnivores. That means that they have to eat meat. They can't survive on fruits and vegetables. So,
and people want to know, do you butcher, or do we kill our animals or feed them live?
We do not kill our animals. We order them farmed, and that's good, so we know where they're coming from. And we can't give these birds live prey because of their pre-existing injuries. We don't want them to re-injure themselves. So all of our food comes to us frozen, and we thaw it and cut it up and hand it out.
And you were saying you had to cut them up. What are you removing when you're cutting it up?
We remove, if we're prepping quail, we take off the feathers. Not so much for the birds, but for us, because that's a lot of cleaning. We also remove the digestive tract and reproductive tracts of all of the mice and the quail. And again, those are not things that hurt these animals when they're hunting. They would probably remove them themselves. And if we take them out before we give it to them, it means we don't have to clean them off the walls. So
Carmen, we have some questions. Can we throw
awesome.
them at you?
Let's go. Okay, so from Melissa, which species of bird at the OLC is the fastest flyer in the wild? Okay, so hopefully some people know that the peregrine falcon is the fastest airborne animal in the wild. In a stoop, a peregrine can reach speeds of 200 miles an hour. We don't have any peregrine falcons here, and my best guess is that Stan, our Harris's hawk, would be our fastest flyer, because Stan is also our most maneuverable. In the wild, Harris's hawks will hunt in groups, and they'll chase jackrabbits or quail or snakes into shrubs. And so they have to be kind of agile to do that, and kind of fast. Most of our other birds are sit and wait hunters, so they'll stand on tall places and wait for something to walk by when they get hungry. Okay, Sam asks, why do owls have strong claws? That's a really good question. And there's something else going on here too. So birds, and this is true of perching birds and birds of prey, their feet have locking tendons. So when they kind of squat, their feet lock. And owls have strong feet so that they can catch their prey. Now, Orville is a mouse eater and a small mammal eater. But if you have, say, a great horned owls can take prey that weighs up to 3 times their body weight. And that requires an enormous amount of strength to do that. So that strength is required for them to hunt, and that's why they have strong feet. Stephanie asks, how big are their wingspans? That's a really good question, and I'm not very good at this kind of thing. So Stan's wingspan is probably 3.5 to 4 feet, and Orville's is probably about 3 feet. Now, biggest wingspan in the wild is the wandering albatross, 11 feet. Andean condors have a 10-foot wingspan. If you're thinking about bald eagles have about a 6-foot wingspan. So birds come in all shapes and sizes, and that means that they come in all different sizes of wings. Carmen, why are hawks smaller than owls? Well, some of them aren't. If we look at Stan was weighed today, and he weighs about 775 grams, which is close to what Orville weighs. Orville weighs about 750 grams. We have a red-tailed hawk named Arden, and she weighs 1,345 grams. So she's about twice as big as Stan and almost 3 times as heavy as Orville. Do owls have really long legs? Yes, they do. Have you seen the photo going around where someone is like picking the owl up from its belly, and you can see? So birds in general hide their legs. So what we usually see in a bird is from the knee down. So Stan, from his knee down, is actually, his legs are pretty long. Orville's legs are pretty long too. He's just sitting down and hiding them. And I can't touch Orville because he bites. So, any other questions? Oh, why did I spray the owl? That's a very good question. Thank you, Alicia. I sprayed Orville because he doesn't like warm spaces, and we're inside. It's more than 70 degrees in here. So Orville gets a little bit stressed out, and he gets a little bit warm, and he pants. And when he does that, he's communicating to me that he's uncomfortable. So in order to help make him more comfortable, I'm going to spritz him with water. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I started by spraying his feet, and that's a good way. There's a heat exchange that happens in their feet. So that's a good way to help cool them down. Orville lives in an enclosure that is not heated. So his favorite time of year is about October until about now, when it is cool outside all the time. Stan, on the other hand, is more of a desert bird. So Stan has a heat lamp because we're not above freezing at night yet. And that, let's talk about that. Did you see that? Where he put his feathers out and shook them out? That's called rousing. And when a bird rouses, that means the bird is pretty sure it's not going to get eaten in the next couple of seconds. That's a relaxation behavior. We really like to see that in our birds. So Stan's doing great. Orville's a little stretched out. Why do owls have bigger eyes than hawks and falcons? Another very good question from Jamie. When do owls hunt? Let's think about that. When do owls hunt? Owls hunt primarily at night in low light settings. When do hawks hunt? Hawks hunt mostly during the day. So a hawk is going to be out from about sunrise till late afternoon, and late afternoon is when the owls come out. So an owl is going to need to collect as much light as possible with its eyes, and so that's why their eyes are so much bigger. An owl's eyes, if your eyeball were the size of an owl's eye in your head, it would be the size of a softball. That's a big eye. And owls have special bony structures in their skulls to hold their eyes in place. So this raises another very good topic. Owls can't move their eyeballs because they're so huge, which means they have to move their heads. And do you know how far around an owl can move its head? Some people say 360 degrees, that's a little too far, but owls can move their heads 270 degrees. So that's the same as if I started facing forward and then looked over my right shoulder and back over my other shoulder. I can't do that. But owls have more bones in their necks than we do, and they also have a different blood supply. So they're very flexible necks. Shelly and Lily ask, how did Stan get injured? That's a really good question, and we just don't know the answer. And that's actually true of all of our birds. We don't know what happened to them. The decision to make them education birds is made by rehabbers and veterinarians. We don't get to make that decision, and that's probably a good thing because we love our birds so much that we don't want to make bad decisions on their behalf.
And that we don't take any injured.
Oh, and we're not a rehab facility, so we don't take injured birds. If you're in the Spokane area, Mount Spokane, call Mount Spokane Veterinary Hospital if you find an injured bird. Jolene asks, do birds of prey have different colored eyes? Yes, they do. They have different colored eyes, and some of them have eyes that change color over the course of their lifetimes. So Stan's eyes are kind of a dark brown now. That's a trait in an adult bird of his species. Orville has very dark eyes. They're pools. Orville looks kind of like a Muppet. He's very cute. We have a great horned owl whose eyes are yellow, and her eyes have been yellow her whole life. We have a red-tailed hawk whose eyes have become this dark amber, but as a juvenile, she probably would have had yellow eyes. So it depends on the bird, and it depends on the bird's stage of life as to what color their eyes are. Ellen asks, how fast can Harris's hawks fly? That's a very good question, and I don't know that anybody has measured that, because mostly we see their speed when they're maneuvering. So, and that's a short burst flight. It's not a sustained flight. So I actually don't know the answer to that question, but we'll say that they fly faster than jackrabbits because they catch jackrabbits and eat them.
Carmen, isn't it true that the Harris's hawk hunt together in a pack? Can you talk about that?
I can.
And who's the boss of the pack?
Wow. Okay, so Harris's hawks are more social than most birds of prey. They tend to live and hunt in family groups, and of 3 adults. So mom, dad, last year's oldest boy, and who's in charge? That would be mom. Mom is always in charge when it comes to these birds. Female Harris's hawks weigh about 1.5 times what the males weigh, and they're taller. So they're just bigger birds, and they're the ones who call the shots. Harris's hawks also practice a behavior called stacking. And I've never seen this live. I've just seen photos of it. But one bird will land on top of a fence post or a cactus, and another Harris's hawk will come and stand on that bird's shoulders. And they usually stack up to 3 at a time, and that extends their field of vision. If you're in the desert and your prey are not plentiful, that's a helpful thing. That gives you an advantage that you wouldn't have otherwise. So, how old is the owl, asks Micah. Orville is probably almost 9 years old. And I don't know what their lifespans are in the wild, but I would say that he might be about middle-aged.
And then when we got Orville, he was a little downy puffball.
Yeah.
He looks like...
He's still a puffball.
Yes, he is.
He's just an older puffball.
Yes.
And how old is Stan? Well, Stan is almost 20. So Stan acts like a teenage boy because he is a teenage boy. I met someone who worked in another shelter last year who was working with a 35-year-old female Harris's hawk. So we know that these birds can live very, very long lives in captivity because their medical needs are taken care of. They have steady access to food and water. And we hope that we're going to have Stan for a good while longer. An interesting thing about these birds of prey Their lifespans become extended in captivity because of the care that they receive. But that means they also, because they live to an advanced age, they develop things like arthritis and cataracts, which in humans are diseases of age. So, why does the owl bite, asks Ellen. That is a good question. And I don't know the exact answer, but if I had to guess, I would say that Orville never really got an opportunity to grow up because he's been in captivity for basically his whole life. And a way that he would have expressed displeasure to parents or siblings might have been to use his beak. And so he still does that. So that's why he's biting. But I'm wearing a glove, and this glove has 2 layers of leather over my thumb and forefinger. So I can feel him, but he's not doing any damage. So, any other questions? How many hawks are in residence at the OLC? How many owls and hawks? Lily asks. We have right now 6 birds of prey. We have a great horned owl, a female great horned owl. We have a male barred owl. We have a female barn owl. We have a female rough-legged hawk, a female red-tailed hawk, and a male Harris's hawk. So that's our, and we have the capacity to have 8 or 9 birds at a time, but right now we are at 6.
And they're asking how long have we had each bird?
Okay.
Let's start with Alberta.
Let's start with Alberta, who's been here as long as the Outdoor Learning Center has been here, so at least 20 years old. She came here as an adult. So she's at least 20 years old. She has a high wing amputation, so she can't fly. Her mew is outfitted with a ramp and perches at different levels so that she can experience her whole living space. Orville, we talked about, he's been here since he was a baby. He's about 9 years old now. Pants has been here for 17 years.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe
Pants,
15.
15 to 17. She came as an adult. She has a partial wing amputation. Her mew also has a ramp in it so that she can be on different levels and move around. Arden has been here for almost 3 years. She came as an adult, so we don't know how old she is. She broke a bone in her wrist, and it didn't heal properly. So that's why she's here. We talked about Stan, he's 20. And Ruby, our barn owl, she's only been with us for about a year now, but she's about 8 years old, which is very old for a barn owl. Barn owls in the wild don't live more than a couple of years, and they have a lot of owlets, and then they pass on. But Ruby's hanging in there. She's about 8 years old.
And we were going to have Ruby.
We were going to have Ruby, but one of her jesses broke.
And so have you said what a mew is and what a jess is? Because we've talked about them.
Okay, let's talk about mews. Mews are living enclosures. So, and this dovetails nicely with the question that Ellen is asking, are the bird enclosures outside or inside? We have a building on this property that is enclosed, and each of the birds has its own enclosure, right? So that building is not heated or cooled, but it has several windows, and all of the birds have several perches. So in the summer, we have fans installed in some of the mews so that we have better air movement. And in the winter, like we talked about with Stan, he has a heat lamp so he can stay a little bit warmer. So they are technically inside. They're out of the elements. They can't be rained on or snowed on. Their wind isn't blowing on them, but they are not in a heated space.
And the mew's like a stall.
Yes, the mew is like a stall. Each mew is about 10 by 10.
So
it's
they
like
call
a
them
small
mews
bedroom.
because of like the ancestral falconry term.
Sure.
Something, yeah. And then
And
jesses.
that's the same with the jesses. So if you look at my, okay, the Savannah wants to know why there's a chain on the hawk's claw.
Perfect.
Okay, so if you look at Orville here, and the way that I'm set up with Orville, he has a leash that he's trying to get to. Oops, this is called baiting. It's not super cool, but sometimes birds do it. So I'm gonna help him get back up on the glove,
Barehanded.
barehanded. So the straps that are coming off of Orville's feet are called jesses, and they allow us to handle the bird safely. One of Orville's, I don't know, not great traits is that he likes to jump at your face. So if I can hold on to the jesses, then he can't do that. He's got an extender on that's going to make his jesses a little bit longer, which means they won't get caught up in his tail. A leash, and then I have him attached to my glove. So all of these things keep me safe from Orville and keep Orville safe while I'm handling him. And the same is true for Stan. So Stan is wearing jesses, leather jesses, straps on his feet that are attached to an extender so nothing gets caught in his tail. And then he's got a leash that is attached to a perch. So, and that just means that they can't get away and everybody is safe. This equipment, all of this equipment together is traditionally called furniture.
Sweet.
So there you have it.
So I'm gonna pop back on here. For our first live, we've had over 100 people watching for the last 30 minutes. So all of you that are watching, thank you so much. We can't get to all your questions, but I know that Tina Penny, one of our amazing volunteers, she's been answering questions, and so has Robbie, our AmeriCorps. He's working remotely from Boise. So thanks to Raina, Jeff, Jolene, Nick, Esther, Samantha, Jolene, Kara, Micah, Trisha, Jamie, Gavin, Carrie, Alicia, Jordan, and Amanda, and so many other people. Thank you for asking questions. Hopefully we're going to get to them. One of our other awesome volunteers, Gavin, he's probably one of our youngest volunteers. He's asking Carmen and I what our favorite birds are. So I'm going to give Carmen a second to think about that. And we are tallying the survey of what your guys' favorite is, a hawk or owl. Maybe you've changed your feeling. I want to tell you that behind the scenes, there's a few of us here. My family's here. Jasper is our tech support behind the camera. We have Stella, my daughter, who's been doing all the communication. She's our communication specialist. And Tiffany is here. She's been helping us run. And of course, Carmen and the awesome birds. We miss you guys. We want to be able to see you, but since we can't, this is the way that we're going to do it. So next week, we want you to tune in again at the same time. Obviously, we're not going to have Carmen here, but we're going to do our best to answer all your questions that you have about reptiles. So what I would love from you guys, if you could ask me questions so I could do some research. Reptiles are a little more tricky for us than the hawks and the owls because we know so much about them because we've had so much experience with them. But we would love to put on a good show and be able to answer any questions. So please, please, please comment and ask questions about reptiles for next show. Remember to like us, or not like us, follow us on our YouTube channel, Outdoor Learning Center. And you can replay this video there. We're going to upload it probably in the next day or two. And then don't forget to also look for our craft of an owl puppet that you can make at home and reuse some of those paper bags you've been getting from school lunches.
Who's your favorite bird?
Oh yeah, 1 second. Hazen, I miss you. We all miss you. It's good to see you, bud. Thanks for commenting and watching the show. Carmen, my favorite bird. It's probably going to have to be Alberta. I didn't know a lot about birds of prey when I first started here. She has been patient and has taught me so much about, one, being an amazing ambassador, longevity, patience, aggressiveness, and how to be safe, but also just the appreciation of great horned owls and how they're in my neighborhood. And Alberta hoots all the time, and so I know exactly what they sound like. And she's been around a long, long time. Carmen, who's your favorite?
I think I'm really kind of a hawk girl, and I love owls. I love owls, but I like that hawks are a little bit more strategic in the way that they kind of are in the world. And Stan is one of my favorite colleagues, and getting to know Arden, the red-tailed hawk, I think that's another big highlight of my time here.
Sweet. Got to stand on my mark. Okay, so the survey results are in, and basically it's a tie. You guys pretty much love hawks and you love owls, which is exactly how we feel too. But I think owls have a little bit of a nudge over the top. So maybe keep commenting, and we'll see if our owl lovers can win this battle. So I look forward to seeing everybody next week, and please invite your friends, and remember, ask me questions so I don't sound like a silly goose up here. We miss everybody. Stay safe and wash your hands. Bye.